Hi, I think we're live. It says starting. Okay, here we are. And I'm back again. Another Thursday, another live event, which, I hope you are um, enjoying watching or you get something out of it. That's the main thing, isn't it? And I've raised it up because I'm always looking down and I'm trying to get it right. So I look up. And then my glasses catch this reflection that annoys me. So I move my head around. Sorry. It's just what happens. And it tells me my keyframe is too low and it keeps doing that every time I start. And I don't know what that means. If anyone knows how to fix that, I can't click learn more now while I'm actually in the live. It's ridiculous. Why doesn't it tell me that beforehand? Technology is so fun, isn't it? It's just so fun. And it does such amazing things. And I really do use it a lot. And I really enjoy it. The fact, I'm an accountant by trade or beforehand by profession. And I use it a lot. I only use what I need, to be honest. I mean, there's so much more that you could use, but I just think I learn as much as I need to learn to do what I need to do and to get what I need to do done. I love that information is readily available about everything. It helps me with my job so much. I can just look things up and find lots of amazing information out on the internet, pretty much about everything. Well, not actually everything. Some things are still quite hidden, which is frustrating because um, you need to know and you have the right to know. I think the internet has destroyed the days where people held on to information and charged you for it, basically, because everyone can find out so much on the internet because people will post about everything. Even when they're advertising their services, they'll give you lots of good information while they're advertising for their services, which is great. And I appreciate that. And I'd rather go to someone like that. And I think they've all had to step up their game because there's so much competition and so many people are out there posting, all the information. So they have to. And there's still the people who will not be able to use the information in a good way, so they still will go and use the services of a professional of some sort. And others can manage to actually do it themselves. And why not? I'm come from New Zealand originally, and we're kings and queens of the do-it-yourself culture because of the pioneering nature of the country. I think the pioneers came in with nothing and had to start just making do with everything. The old number 8 wire fencing that is used for everything is not a myth. It's actually true. If it can't be tied up or fixed or held together or you know fixed in some way with number 8 wire, well, it's not worth fixing. I guess the same can be said about hammers. I read a really good post the other day, just on an aside. An engineer's notebook said, number one, very important. Firstly, always use the correct tool. Number two, the correct tool is always a hammer. And number three, anything can be used as a hammer. So that's very much New Zealand and probably Australia as well, my new country, who I love this country. And if you're watching from anywhere else, please consider coming to WA and having a look around, which is Western Australia. Lots of people go to the East Coast, which is stunningly beautiful wherever you go. And I do agree. Just throw a stone from wherever you are to somewhere beautiful. And WA is a lot more spread out, but it has stunning beaches, especially down south and up north. Oh, you can just see everywhere. And the weather is so glorious. Yes, too hot in the middle of summer. Yes, too cold in the middle of winter. Not as much as other places, to be honest. Not as much as New Zealand. But in between, except for those couple of months of uncomfortableness, it's glorious. So, yeah, there's a wee plug for Western Australia. Come and visit us and come and learn about my business. Meet me, have a coffee, talk about the water, talk about everything. That would be great. Love it. And I'll travel to you because I'm going to travel lots. So just a little bit about me. I'm now 64 years old. Am I 64? Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that every year I'm turning these these numbers that just don't, I just don't understand. Hold on. Oops. Now I've mucked everything up, haven't I? I just clicked on that stupid thing that said your keyframe is too low, learn more. Why would I want to learn more right now? Really? It took me to another page altogether. I can't do that. I'm on a live, you idiots. Facebook, listen to what people want. Don't even want to go down that rabbit hole of what they need to do. But anyway, so I turned this number. Every number that I've turned after 60 was like, oh, God, what the fuck? What happened? Excuse me, beep, beep. Yeah, where'd life go? Where did all their life go? And where did all the time to do all the things I want to do go? I was working hard. I was bringing up kids. I was so tired half the time, and still just pushing through until I finally sort of burnt out because of some very stressful things that happened in my life, like hugely stressful to me. They just destroyed my world. So, and my belief in myself for years, and all that stuff it matters, and you get fatigued by it. And so I had mental and physical fatigue for a long, long time, and I still battle with that. The hangover from it, I think. So all of you people in your 30s and 40s just pushing through, just be careful, because if you do burn out, it's like a lifetime sentence. It just keeps coming back at you. Don't burn out. You don't need to. They're just, all these things that you're pushing for shouldn't be so hard. They're making you push for it in all the wrong ways, and you're most likely working for someone else. And even if you're working for yourself, you're pushing so hard to make money the wrong way. And you're doing it while you're trying to bring up your kids. I know, it's just such a nightmare. It's such a stress. You always feel like you're not doing either job well enough. Whatever you're doing, it's like, I should be with the kids. You're with the kids and your mind is half on, oh, what am I supposed to be doing in my business? Or I have to go back to work tomorrow and I'm really tired. I should be having a nap instead of playing with my kids. What? All of that. I know what it's like. I've been there, done that. And now, looking back and realizing it takes finding something else outside of the box. It takes finding other ways to do things to really realize that that way wasn't good for you, for anyone. It was never designed to be good for you. It was only designed to make lots of money for a few, the big companies who have concentrated, as we know, and I'm sure you know, they've just bought up other companies. Just the biggest ones have just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they control everything. And that is not a situation we want to be in. There's laws against it. There's anti-monopoly laws that try and stop companies from setting themselves up to have no competition, so they can just charge what they like, do what they like, add what they like to your food, add what they like to your water, because they've got no competition. That's what anti-monopoly laws were supposed to stop. And they haven't, because these companies have got too big, too massive, too greedy, and also too rich. They are just richer than the governments. They just control everything, and they just have made laws made that they want. If you don't see that is a natural progression, then you're not really looking hard enough. And often we don't. I didn't want to, and I started looking at stuff like this when I'm in my teens and 20s, very into against that sort of stuff. But meanwhile, then 40 years of life just happens just like that. And I mean that. It just goes like that because you're so busy. And often you're not sticking up for things that you should, perhaps, and you're not researching enough, and you're also not don't have the energy to fight. So you end up just going with the flow, going with the masses, going with the status quo and the comfort zones and all that crap, which is great at the time. Not really. It's not really, because you're not where you want to be, actually, but you think you're working towards it. That's the little carrot that keeps everyone in the system. You think you are. You're going to get to this retirement at some point, and you even hopefully in the back of your mind think you might be able to retire early and have the lifestyle you want early. That's always, a lovely little goal. And that, again, it's just a carrot. It's just a figment of of imagination that they're pushing at you and saying, work hard, just strive, be the good workers, and just turn up every day, and you're going to get to this wonderful retirement, whenever that is, and do all the things you want. As you get older, I'm sure if you're starting to hit the 40s and 50s, you're starting to think, hold on, I'm sort of not as fit and able as I was. I'm working all the time, so I'm not actually keeping up my fitness and health as much as I should be, probably. I'm getting a bit lax on things, and I can't do the things I used to do. And how am I going to travel? How am I going to water ski? How am I going to do all the things that I love doing now when I'm retired and I'm 60s, in my 60s and 70s? What is it? Is that it? And then it's all over? It's like, oh, okay, bye bye. Had 5 years of fun, goodbye. And if you're lucky, having the 5 years of fun, you're actually fit and well. Work it out. Just look at that and think, hold on, that story doesn't hold water, does it? It's not. And I promise you, it's not true. I promise you, that is not right for you. It is a figment of everyone's imagination. They have cleverly packaged it and promoted it, and everything, all the ads, everything, all point at that conclusion to your life, that you're going to have this wonderful retirement. But when you logically look at it, no, that's not what's happening. That is not what's happening to you at all. And look at the people that you know that are retired. Young people these days are waking up so fast to this because they look at their parents and their grandparents, and they've worked hard all their lives and they've got nothing. Literally, some of them, nothing. They're on rest times with nothing and hardly anyone even visiting them. What the heck? That's the end of your life? So this is me as well. I'm in my 60s and fast approaching days when I need to look at this. I've just been through a whole lot of health battles in the last couple of years, which I'm actually battling my way out of, and I'm coming through. I could hardly walk a couple of years ago. Every night was agony. I couldn't sleep. It was horrendous. I would go to a Chinese masseuse to have half an hour of absolute agony to get me 3 days pain-free. Just 3 days, and it would start coming back. That was the situation I was in, and other things as well, just getting sick all the time. Lots of stuff happening. And I'm battling and have battled my way back out of that. You can. Don't give up, is all I can say. But you really have to look alternatively, and you really have to take control of your own health. And that doesn't mean I didn't go to doctors and specialists and everything. I've done that as well. But be very proactive when you do and find out exactly what the options are that they are offering. They're not the only options. And a lot of them, a lot. I've only been to like 3, but they've all said, keep doing what you're doing. If it's working, keep doing what you're doing. These are very intelligent people. They've worked very hard to get to where they are at. They are still in a system that it doesn't work very well for us because they will get more money out of operating on us and knocking us out completely for months or years sometimes. But if they're good people, they will actually tell you that, and they will say, you're better off doing what you're doing. And if it's working, then that is the main thing, isn't it? Giving you quality of life. I want to be able to travel more. So I need health. I need health to do that. That's number one. They say, don't they, you have all the problems in the world attacking you every day until your health disappears in some way, and then you only have one problem. And so avoid that problem. That is the main problem. If you don't have health, you can't do anything else. There's no point in looking at anything else because your health is what you need. If you don't have a body, as they say, if you don't look after it, you will have nowhere to live. That's just the simple truth. You can't go there in your mind, unfortunately. We should be able to, and I'm sure that technology is coming where we will reawaken those senses that allow us to teleport and all those things, which would be great. But in the meantime, you need a body. You can't do it in your mind. Look at these terrible diseases, syndromes. People have the locked-in syndrome where they can still think, but they can't move anything. They can blink. They have to be fed. They have to have everything done for them. They cannot move anything. That is the most terrible thing I could ever think of for anyone. It's just horrendous. And of course you die. You don't last that long like that because some system in your body will break down and there's nothing you can do about it. It just will keep happening. It's awful, terrible. So on that horrible note, just think, what if that happened to you and you knew it was going to happen in 6 months' time? What would you do for the 6 months? And I know people say this, and it's very trite, I think. And I used to think, oh, yeah, great, thanks. I can't do that. I'm busy, I'm looking after kids. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But whatever stage you're at, start taking that on board if you possibly can. What would I rather be doing today? How can I work that into my day? How can I bring joy to this day? How can I do some things that are actually working towards changing this life so it will be the way I want it every day? Think about those things. It's so important. Don't watch Netflix if that's taking you away from that goal. If it's taking you away from thinking about your future, thinking about your dreams, thinking about who you want to be and where you want to be in life. Give some thought to that. Take half an hour away from the Netflix and give some thought and time to that and write some things down every day. Just try that if that's all that you can manage to fit into the day. And I'm preaching to you. I know I'm really sorry, but really, do you want to get to 64 like me and realize you've stuffed it up? Really, really stuffed it up. So many years I could have been doing different things. And I kind of chose not to. There was things that, I felt I had to do and that were stopping me. A lot of it was money, to be honest. Money would have solved most of those things. So now, and I did always look for alternative ways to make money. I was always a searcher, and I unfortunately didn't find this particular business that I'm going to tell you about in a little while, because that would have just changed everything way back then. I so wish I had found it earlier, but that's just life, isn't it? You come to things in the time that you were going to come to them. You've come to this now. You're watching me now, or watching the replay. It's come to you for a reason. It's come to you because it's time for you to look, and it's time for you to think about these things now rather than later. Or if you're in your 60s already, it's still not too late. And 70s, 80s, I don't care how old you are. If you're looking, then you're ready to change something. That's the most important thing. Just start changing something. And again, I'm preaching at you. I know a friend of mine would say, preaching. Stop telling me that. You just make me want to kill myself. Very defeatist, I think. Surely it's better to just change things if you can. And I'm sure everybody can. They have to want to. They have to want to. You can't stay on the path you're on and have things turn out differently. It just doesn't work out that way, does it? So find a path, and I'm giving you a path. I'm here blatantly throwing it at you. Here's the path. Choose whatever one you like. But I see lots of them fail for lots of reasons, and I've been in lots that have failed for me for lots of reasons too, because they're too damn hard and just impossible. And when it got to really how much work you had to put in to actually get to the levels and to the income that you wanted, it was so off-putting, and it demotivated you in the end because it was just so hard. Cold calling, sales, talking endlessly to friends and family about, anyone you met, about a business that was hard to build. It's hard to put a good spin on that, isn't it? When you're finding it, it is really hard. But people did it because they could see at least it was getting them out of the 9 to 5. And lots of people did actually make it really well. And I think the kind of business I'm talking about. And the one I'm talking about now is kind of the same because it has the same idea behind it. It has the same philosophy. No, not in philosophy, but the way it works in the sense that you no longer have to do all the work yourself, because as people join with you, you all participate in the same income. So you're no longer doing all the work. And isn't that everyone's goal? You can't work forever for hours for dollars, because you're just going to break down at some point and you're going to retire at some point. It's going to stop. So you're just gambling that you're going to have enough in the bank or investments by that time to actually have a decent life. And how many do? Not as many as should, and not as many as what it's promised will. Definitely not. Hardly any, to be honest. When you look around, hardly any. It's very sad, but awful, but true. And really, I just laughing at it because otherwise you'd just cry and give up, wouldn't you? And I almost was at that point, and I really don't want to let this system pull me down to that point. Why would I? This is my life, and I have to live it the way I see fit, because otherwise I'm letting other people make my decisions for me. I'm letting life make my decisions for me. That's not going to work. If you're on a train to no destination, then you're never going to get there. You've got to make a destination and get on the damn train. Point the train in the right direction and be on it. Don't just let life throw things at you. It'll throw whatever it likes at you. And yeah, good luck, because I've done that at different times. Good luck. Don't complain to me if that's what you've done. Don't complain to anyone, because you've chosen that path. But anyway, so if you get to where I was and am in the 60s, wondering, what the heck? I haven't done all the travel I want to do. So, I love traveling and I love seeing new places. I love meeting different people of different cultures and trying to work out their languages. And I don't particularly like learning it out of a book, but I love being there and just immersing myself in it. I can pick up languages and accents pretty quickly when I'm away. I did 2 trips to Thailand. Go away, little message. It's really annoying me. 2 trips to Thailand with friends and became the interpreter, because I could pick up what they were saying. I could adjust to listening to their accent, and I could speak their accent back to them. You can't just speak back in this voice to someone who's saying it in a different accent completely. They can't understand you. You can't understand them. So you've really got to adjust. And I managed to do that just to get basic stuff like thank you, please, thank you, goodbye, hello, what is that, bring us this, basic stuff. It was very basic, but I could do it. And the longer I was there, the more I could pick up, which was good. But others just either couldn't or wouldn't adjust to it. But I love doing that. I love being in different places and seeing different ways of doing things. The more different, the better. I've been to some places that are really different from westernized countries here in Australia and New Zealand. Even Thailand, back, this is 30, 40 years ago. Oh, gosh. It was so different then. I'm just about to go again this year, but I hope I'm not deadly surprised by how much it's changed, because back then, oh my gosh, it was the smells, the people, everything. It was just overwhelmingly huge, everything at you all the time. You walk along the street and there's just tiny little shop fronts all along the street, and every single one is doing something different, and they're all out on the sidewalk. Old granny's walking out to pee on the sidewalk because she's been sleeping in there and working all night, and totally different. The smells are horrendous. It's between excrement and food. That's what it smells like. And spices and it overwhelms the senses of, white, bloody, sanitized Kiwi Aussies, and others. I only know our experience, of course, but that's what I love. It's like, why go somewhere that's just the same as here and looks the same? That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see all the different sites and all the different cultures, all the beauty and the craziness and whatever. We'd pull up in a tuk-tuk at a intersection in Bangkok, and because the lights change, right? So the tuk-tuk is like a 3-wheeled motorbike with a cabin built on the back, all open at the sides because it's too hot to have anything else. And 2 to 3 people can fit in, sitting in the back of this, and the guy riding it at the front. So we pull up in our tuk-tuk at the lights, and before the lights have changed, so they just go again, there's 4 to 5 or 6 lanes of cars and tuk-tuks. And between that time, for the lights to come, there's piled up behind you, but also there's now like 50 motorbikes intertwined amongst all the people around you. And they're all going to roar off at the same time. It's very crazy. But that's just, they're used to it, and it's just the way it is. Half the motorbikes have people on them, like 3 on the back. Mum and the kids, and just and they just adapt. And the ladies going to their jobs that are riding side saddle because got these tight little skirts on and high heels and looking all pretty on a motorbike. No helmets. Don't worry about that. Off they go. They don't go fast either. It's just they just accommodate the fact that there's a ton of people on the road and they have to get there. So they just do what they have to do. That same intersection that I'm thinking of was around the monument in the middle of Bangkok, and at night, if you went around it on your tuk-tuk, because we head out to go to places to have fun, it was round, circle obviously, and this big roundabout, huge roundabout around it. And at night there was like every metre, I suppose, or less on the pavement, on the circle, was a person sleeping, sort of head towards the monument, feet towards the road, just curled on the concrete, sleeping in their suits and everything. They weren't, they were people working around the place, obviously, who had nowhere to sleep. Or it was just they couldn't go home, it was too far. So there they were. I guess they'd get up in the morning and freshen up somewhere and straight back to work. And that was life, and that's the kind of life that broadens your mind, not sitting here complaining because, someone's left their sign out too long. That coffee shop said it was open and they're not. God, that inconvenienced me, and it's true, it's annoying, but you know what I mean? Find some bigger problems to worry about, people. Go overseas and see what other people are worrying about, and you'll come back and think, my life is good in so many ways. And I don't mean that means you should settle if your life is not that great or it's not what you want it to be. That just gave me the lesson, really, that you have to make your own life. Lots of people there in these countries that I have seen are happy because they make the most of it and they take every opportunity they can to enjoy life. They'll strip their suits off on the beach and run into the water. How many people do you see doing that here? Oh, hell no. We must go home to our air-conditioned home, complain about anything that's wrong there, have a shower, get ourselves changed, get the right gears and put it all in the car, a fancy car, and drive to the beach. And then we will get in our most beautiful suits that we've spent lots of money on, that we had to have the job for, blah, blah, blah. And some of the enjoyment is actually already, or a lot of it, I think, is already leached out of that experience by all of these details that we have to worry about. We think we have to. We do have to keep up with our peers or to look right or whatever for our particular culture, which has become very commercialised. All the ads tell us what we need to do and how we need to be and etc. Whereas they don't have that pressure. So in some ways you could say, well, they're better off in that way. And they are, definitely. But don't excuse yourself from helping them out by saying, oh, they're happy anyway. Do not. You have more than they do. But anyway, I do love to travel, and I do give to every beggar I see because I just feel obligated in some ways, and why wouldn't I? It's a few coins. It's seriously nothing. When I went, there was 7 baht to $1. And you could buy a meal there for 1 baht if you went to one of their places. So you give 1 baht to a beggar, that's a meal, and so on and so on. Don't think you shouldn't give anything. You've got plenty. Give it. Here's another rave. Can't help myself. Sorry. You don't have to take what I say. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying what I think. Do your own live and say what you think. I'm quite happy for you to do that. I may not watch it, but that's, it's my choice. It's your choice to be here and watching this. So here I am, deciding or finding that I haven't done half the travel that I want to do. Not even. I've only done, I don't know, not even a quarter of the travel I want to do in the world. And it was always in my mind, though. Oh, I'm going to travel. And I suppose the retirement thing was always there. Once you stop working, you can afford to travel. Well, no, you can't. And I started looking at it and thinking, well, how am I going to fit in at this age? And I was really unwell at the time too. That really put it down on it as well. How can I travel if I get sick everywhere I go? And my back, But, I'm going to beat that. I am beating that. So, but even then, the main thing is money, isn't it? That's the thing stopping me. You literally cannot travel if you don't have the money available or spare out of your life. No matter, you stop having coffees. Oh, those condescending a-holes on the ads. If you just give up 1 coffee a day, you can do this and this and this. Please don't listen to that crap. Do not give up your life. That's sometimes your only treat. Do not give it up for some a-hole sitting on their millions. Find a different way. Just find a different way. So, yeah, if you've got no money to travel, if you've got no money for a fare anywhere, and then to keep you while you're there, or to have to sightsee, to actually travel and look around the place, um, that was starting to dawn on me that I don't see how I'm going to do that. And I hate looking ahead and being negative about it. And we're always taught be positive. But when you look at it in reality, what's going to change? If you don't change anything and you just be positive, what's going to change? And how are you going to get the money to do that? You have to face up to that at some point and make different decisions. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to end up with the same results. And that's what I was finding. I thought, oh, well, I'll just add in more clients and I can do more work and I can manage to put some money aside. Well, no matter how many more clients I added, I had the best months I've ever had just recently, the best quarter I know because I paid the most GST, and still the same amount in the bank at the end of it, same amount, because that is what is programmed at the moment in my life. I have to change that program and I have to change what I'm doing and bring in extra income. I can't just keep making that stretch and making my hours stretch to put in more time, can I? There is a finite amount, and especially if you're not well, then there's a very finite amount that you're struggling to put through. Plus, I'm trying to renovate my house amongst it all, and I need time and energy for that. And those things are priorities for me. But the travel, finishing this house, doing projects that I actually enjoy. But how can I manage to do it all and get the money to do it all? Um, these these things were really weighing on me and actually starting to make me feel depressed, really, really down, because I was starting to look at them, and then the negativity of it just starts to get you. But I also had to face reality. If I don't change anything, if I can't change anything, there is no future that I'm willing to live. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to think that this will be the same year after year for the rest of my life. I get to see my grandkids, which is the highlight of my life, and that will always be a priority that I will work into everything else. I love them. They're such beautiful little people, and I'm so lucky, so lucky. But for everything else, I was like, are they the only reason for me to live now? And when I'm not with them, I have no reason. This is the place you can get to if you don't look at these things. And this is where I got to. And it started to go on for a little while, and I could sort of feel at the very core, giving up, that awful feeling. And I just thought, this just can't be. I just have to find a way out of this. I have to find it. There is no ifs or buts or maybe I'll look at it later anymore. It is later, and I have to look at it. I have to find the solutions, because I'm sure they're out there. Look at the people who make a ton of money, and they do it completely differently. And they don't worry about the system telling them there's not enough or you can't afford anything. Not any of that. So what I did was I wrote down a whole lot of goals that I had and what I was going to do and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So many months a year traveling, the months I want to see the kids, how much money I need to have coming in, and yeah, what I really wanted to do, and some concrete goals. I want to finish this house, obviously, and get it rented. I wanted to put a granny flat on the back, borrow some money to do that, and rent that as well, or keep it as my lock and leave for when I'm traveling and I have a base, or find another one down south. I'd rather get this all rented out, get another house to renovate closer to the grandkids because they've moved away. They're 6 hours from here, so I need to get closer. But find some place that's close enough that I can renovate something and make some money again. And on the other side, buy a van so that I can travel, have it kitted out with my office in there and living. And I know exactly how it looks and what I want in it. And they're all great now. You have a look at them. They've got all your charging points are in the chassis. They've actually built it in, so you just plug into the door, that sort of stuff. Perfect for me because I work online for my accounting business and for this new business. That's all I need. That's all I need. And I can go anywhere with that. Some of them have little toilet and shower even in them, which will make them a lot heavier and slower and more expensive to run and all that sort of stuff. So I've resisted that, but then you can go more places if you do have that. So anyway, those are details. But how I want it is non-negotiable. I now need the bed down the back, big bed area that I can sit on, lay on, lounge on, whatever, not just sleeping, and open the back doors right behind it to look out at beautiful views of wherever I am in Australia. So I can just be on the beach side, open it up to look at the beach. That is my happy place. I've had a house bus before. I travelled and lived in when my son was little. We had a ball in that bus, and had a little house truck, but the house bus was the best. We'd wake up in the morning to windows all around us, just looking straight out. There'd be birds right outside the window, ocean there. We just travelled heaps when he was little. And I loved that lifestyle. Loved it. We had hardly any money. If anything broke down, we were so reliant on people helping us out, because we couldn't afford anything. But we managed to get around and have these fantastic adventures. Well, I loved them. And my son did too. He was just little, so he just loved everything. And as soon as we got to a new beach, he's out there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything was fun and exciting. And I loved that. And loved the same with him now with his kids. He's having the fun and excitement of his kids loving stuff. And it just gives you double the enjoyment of wherever you are. I can't wait to have the money to put aside now. From me thinking I'm going nowhere myself, can't wait to have the money to put aside to take us all on another family holiday. I did it once to Fiji, my son for his 21st and his now wife. He's now 38, 39, 2039. And my daughter and me, we went on this trip to Fiji for 10 days. I booked and paid for boat trips every day, except for there was one boat trip built into the hotel. We paid that. They shouted us one boat trip and one village tour, so we did that on 2 days. The rest of the days, I booked a boat trip either to one of the islands or out snorkeling or to one of the resort islands, like Treasure Island. And I think one day we didn't go out during the day, but we had a dinner cruise, and that was to celebrate his birthday. Yes. And we also made it a surprise birthday cake and everything for my daughter-in-law, whose birthday is very close to his as well. So and we just had a ball. We just had an absolute ball on boats every day. That's just my happy place. And all the food and everything was there, and beers, as much as you could drink. I didn't, but because I would just get sick if I did that probably. And then snorkeling in these most amazing places and sitting on beaches, walking around, trying the kava, doing all the local stuff. They put on big banquets at some places. One island we went for a banquet. We did some snorkeling, then went in for the food, and we were joined by a cruise ship, which was on layover because they couldn't go somewhere. It was full of Aussies, and they were hilarious. Back then, I wasn't living in Australia. They were all East Coasters, very, very brown, and all they did was stand in the water up to their waist in their bathing stuff. They didn't swim. They just stood there with a gin in one hand and a smoke in the other, chatting to each other. And they're enjoying it in their own way. That was just their thing. And then we all went and had this beautiful fish meal in a big, just a thatch covered big long bungalow-y thing with no walls, as they do. But they entertained us and did, different things. And it's just every day it was something new, something special, so fun. And that's what I like. And the Fijian people are beautiful. They're absolutely, I'm now plugging Fiji. I should be a travel advertisement. The people were so beautiful, so lovely. Every time anyone sees you, you just hear this "Bula." And it could be someone in the bush that you haven't even seen. They'll be yelling at you, "Bula." That was their greeting. And they're very happy people. And it really rubs off when you're there. You just really do relax and enjoy. And, people get uptight about some things. And we did in the first day or two. Then we realised we just came down to the level of, oh, wow, just enjoy. Just enjoy. We had a wonderful driver we got on the first day. We had him every day to take us places. And he was just so funny. In the first few days, some of us were a bit wasn't me actually. I'd sort of relaxed pretty quick, but I'd been traveling before. They wanted the windows up so we could have the aircon on because it's so hot. And he was like, he really struggled with that. He put all the windows up except for his one because he had to have his arm out. And you're only going 40 k's or less, and along these roads because there's people, cars everywhere, and well, not as much in Fiji as what I was saying about Thailand, but he had to be able to talk to people outside the window and say "bula" and to have a chat as we went along and went past them, slow down, have a chat. We went through his village every day if we went down to the boat harbours, and he'd have to slow right down so that people could walk along beside us and talk to him. This is how it is. It's just, and I was just in heaven, just laughing. It was just so funny. And my son was getting always uptight, like, we're not going to make it to the ferry. We're not going to make it to the boat. We're going to miss everything. Very uptight about traveling. But we always managed to make it, even when we were late. So, and it was just fantastic. Once you're on the boat, you're just out there, just following along. Everything is beautiful. We went some ferries, one sail-assisted yachts, big yachts, everything, all in this trip. So that's the sort of thing I love to do when I'm away and get the most out of it and just, let the people be who they are. I want to see how they really are, not the sanitized tourist version. And we did some of that because they wanted to sell us all their stuff. And, you have to buy something and just kind of play the game because you don't know if that's their only livelihood. And I'm not going to ask them. It's just rude. Just pay it and go and just buy some things, be generous. That's how I feel anyway. So I would love to do that again. And now add the grandkids in. There's only 3 of them, or my son. My daughter hasn't had any, but never say never. And add them in. To have the money to do that. How good would that make you feel to be able to do that? Take your family somewhere. Just, pay for it all. They had their own spending money just to buy, whatever the souvenirs they wanted. But otherwise, they didn't pay for anything. All our meals were included. I think, we had meals at the restaurant in the evenings. I think our evening meal wasn't included if we weren't on a boat at the time. So there was a few of those to pay for, not many. I don't remember if I paid for them or not. I might not have. I can't remember. But if I had the money, I would have had it all just prepaid, and there would have been no question about that. They wouldn't have to bring out their wallets unless they wanted to. But to be able to do that is a really nice feeling, and it's memories that we all had and have forever, and love to repeat them and make new ones. We might go somewhere different. We always all said we wanted to go back there and never have. That's the sad thing. There's so many other places to go. It's like, how can I go back to one? I don't have the time and money to go back to one and repeat myself, but I'd like to. So I'm working on having that money. So what I did was write down those goals: the travel I wanted to do, the van, and the sleep out here. So very concrete things: the sleep out and the van, especially because this is going to cost this much. I have to borrow this money. I have to do this, do this. No idea if I could borrow any money because I do have a house, but it's a little old, needing everything renovated kind of house, and in a rural area, which banks don't like to lend on. And I don't like dealing with banks anyway. I would prefer to do something else, do another way. So I wrote these things down, and honestly, within days, I happened to see an ad on Facebook of a woman in her 50s over on the East Coast here. I'm looking the wrong way. It's actually that way. Talking about just destiny and where you've got in your life. And if you're here watching her ad, there's a reason for that, which always grabs me anyway. And because it's true, things come up when you need them to. And I was ready for things to come up because I had put this out there that I wanted it. And this was the first really thing that I saw that caught my eye. And she just chatted away. She was busy sweeping out in her warehouse sort of area of her flower business, horticulture business over on the East Coast. Beautiful. And she talked about this business she's doing on the side to be able to retire from the horticulture business and get back all the savings that she had not been able to make. She was looking at a retirement with debt, and it's like, well, I can relate to that. And so she just got me, and so I messaged her and talked to her, and she talked about a business that she'd found and she was in, and she'd been in for a year and a half at that point, and what the income structure of it was and how it worked, etc. And it turned out to be like a multi-level base, but different from any multi-level I've ever looked at, and better returns for a start, which is like, oh, okay, that just, that already has made it better in my books, because I've worked the ones where you have to sell hundreds of product to make a few $1,000s. This way you sell 4 products to make thousands of dollars. So, oh, okay, that's different. And really, really good products. Like, they're all environmentally friendly. They're all health-based product for us and for the environment, which was perfect. I have a health background, and that was just perfect for me. And all the other things about it that were different, working online, just promoting yourself really as an ambassador for your own business. And, I've done that a bit in the past, and I've had to get over those fears. And to be honest, when you've got a really burning desire, the fears just start to melt away, because would you rather let fear stop you, like stop me from talking to you right now, or would I rather be sitting on a beach with my family next year? Which one would I rather have? And to me, there's just no contest. Just do what you need to do, because what's the alternative? Go back to me thinking, oh, my life isn't worth living, or do what I need to do to take advantage of an incredibly generous offer, which is what is in this business. So, get back your hope, and also get money to do what you want to do. There was no contest. So I was one of the ones who don't research for weeks and think about it and come back and, say they can't afford it. I couldn't afford it. Oh, I didn't think I could afford it, anything. And all that stuff. I was just in. So, well, I'm in. I don't know how I'm getting the money, but I'm in. So, and it took me a little while to get that organised, and I managed to borrow enough get a limit on a credit card that didn't cover it, but some money sort of appeared at the right times, so I could manage to actually buy all 4 products and get on the platform to do the training. So that was like, well, that was a miracle for a start. How did that happen? I didn't even think I could get that much. And, I asked for more from the bank. I would have financed a whole lot on a low interest credit card, because I didn't want a business loan, to be honest. I wanted to more flexible than that, so I can chuck lots of money at it when I've got it, whatever, and redraw it. But that was just me. You do it. There's lots of options to how to do it, and I got it, and I did it, and it's a very small investment for a business that has the returns that I'm talking about. If I can make 5 to 10 grand a month out of 2 sales, that tells you what that investment is worth. If anyone with business sense and who's been around for long enough looked at it, they'd pay 100 grand for it. But we're not paying anything like that. We're paying, I think I paid 14, and it goes up a bit over time because they inflation proof it for us. But it's nothing in the scheme of things. I've spent that much on rubbish that I've never ever see again. It's nothing. It's nothing. And the return on investment is huge. So that is, that came up that quickly after me putting down those goals on paper and looking at them, and they actually just sort of sunk into me, and I thought, yes, okay, that's what I've got to do. I really thought that. So that came up, and about the same time, might have been a few days before, it must have been just before I talked to her, or around about the same time. I also watched a YouTube video that someone had made, who was a who is a, like a mindset coach. And I signed up for his course off that video because he said exactly the things that I needed to hear. He said exactly the things that I needed to change, mindset, and the reasons why you can keep doing the same what you're doing and do it harder and harder and get more money in the bank, but you'll still end up back at the same place. That's exactly where I was at. I just experienced it, and I thought, yeah, okay, I need to do this. And that had come up straight after me also writing down those things. So I signed up for his course on the other credit card. Didn't have this money. It's like, just happened to have enough spare on that credit card to sign up. It was about $1,500 or something. Can't remember now. Something like that. And I signed up for it. And he'd done a special. It was on special at the time. And sign up now. He's a very good marketer, and he's learned from the best how to make money. And so I signed up, and that course has been fantastic. And through that, I also have signed up for his retreat in Thailand at the end of the year. That's why I'm going to Thailand. And I had a year, or not even a year, to pay it off because it's quite expensive. But I'm paying that off every month with money I didn't think I had. I'm somehow pulling that out of the budget. It's amazing what happens when you actually just stretch your expectations. And it sometimes doesn't happen. I've had things in the past where I've done exactly that because they've done it in the wrong way, and they've just said, yeah, you just do it, and then it'll come to you. Buy it, spend the money, and all the money will come back into you. They don't tell you how or how to change your mindset or anything about it. They just visualize and what is it? Believe in yourself and affirmations, which, my coach does use those things, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I absolutely was so happy when he was saying these things, because I've tried all those things before and I didn't get all the things I wanted. I would just end up on my face in the mud thinking, oh no, I've paid for this thing in advance and I can't even afford to do it. Just really crazy stuff. Because I believed them and I went along with it. And I know other people who have failed, lots and lots of people have failed at that because it's so ridiculous. It just does not work like that. There's other things to it. And you'll see some coaches out there being very honest about it and saying that won't work. It just doesn't work. Don't even, you don't pay your money and expect that to work. Because your mind is a very complicated thing, and how it's working and how it works. And I've always been into reading about the mind and the brain and how it all works. And so that made perfect sense to me that you had to do something else to retrain your brain, to reprogram it. It is a tool. It is not you. I don't know if you've ever looked into that at all, but if you believe in a soul, I believe in reincarnation. I've followed sort of Eastern religions a lot when I was younger and was inquiring about all these things. And your soul is there. It's not your mind, it's your soul. And your mind comes mostly from your brain. And your brain is it's a tool. It is very trainable, and it is very susceptible to being brainwashed by other influences coming in all the time, because whatever is told to you a lot, like from ads and all the rest of it, you start to believe. And it's not that you actually personally believe it, actually. It is because your brain only has so much short-term memory, like a computer, and it doesn't want to be clogged up thinking certain decisions every day, because you're making hundreds and hundreds of decisions every day in tiny ways and big ways. Some things it just wants to take for granted, so it doesn't have to make a decision about it. So all these things it's being told, which is a lot from advertising and crap that you're listening to, it will just store it away in long term, and that's a belief now. So it doesn't have to make a decision about that. But a lot of your short-term decisions will be based on those beliefs that you've stored away. That's how brainwashing happens, and that's how the world has brainwashed us. Very easy, because your brain is a tool, and they know that. They've worked it out and done all the studies. There's plenty of studies out there if you want to read any of them. Psychology is a whole, and psychiatry has been studied for years and years and years and years, hundreds of years now, for goodness sake. Don't think this is just, hogwash or some sort of mad fantasy. It's a science. Just look at it. So your brain as a tool can be programmed any way you want. So you need to program it. You need to tell it how to think, not let it tell you how to think. Have you ever seen the people talk about the trying to make out the difference between your soul and your physical brain and mind and everything, is when you go to do something and it's like a voice tells you not to, or says, watch out, and there is a reason to watch out. You haven't seen it yet, or something like that. Or the voice when you're dreaming tells you to wake up. Who is that voice? It's your voice. So who's that? If you think about that, then you'll start to think about the soul and the real essence of yourself is separate from your brain. And that will really give you freedom to start telling your brain how to think, what to do, and where you want to be in life. Now, this is just a tiny amount of what you need to learn to change your mindset, and I encourage you to do it if you can. But because that's part of it. But once I got into this business, almost at the same time, once I got the money and got into the business, realised on the platform here, ton of training about mindset. I'm still glad I did the first one, and I'm glad I'm going to Thailand because it's getting me out of the country in a way, and I didn't think I could afford to. I wouldn't have done it. And now that I'm doing it and getting to Thailand in October, I've already booked that fare. It's not very expensive from here, it turns out. I buy cheapies when I see them. I'm going to then do a house sit in Europe. I'm just waiting for the right one to come up that suits my dates. Anywhere in Europe that it costs me about $1,600 to fly from Thailand to Europe and back to here. So if it fits that budget, I will take. I do a lot of house sitting to get around in Australia, and I always planned to do it overseas and just hadn't been able to because of, what happened with the big world shutdown and all the craziness, and I would never take something into my body that I didn't decide to. So, I didn't know everything about, and I'm glad I didn't. So I had to wait. But that's okay. I spent a lot of time with my grandkids. I have done what I've needed to do for my health, which might have been worse if it all came up when I was overseas somewhere. So dealing with it may have been a good thing now to get it all out of the way and be in perfect health, or the best health I can be to travel. Everything has a reason. I do believe that too. You've got to really, really get that into your mind that everything happens for a reason. So don't say no to things. I could have said no to both those opportunities when they came up, the course and the business. I could have said no, and I would be in the same state that I was in 8 months ago. That's shorter time, where I was winding down to die. I felt like that. That was all I was doing. The only thing that I was looking forward to was seeing the grandkids. That was it. Now, that is a terrible state to be in, and I hope that anyone who's in that state will see this and realise there are ways out of it. It's not the state you should be in. It's not the place you should be in. You don't deserve that. You don't. You've worked hard all your life. You deserve much, much better. This system was never meant to make us wealthy at the end of it. Never meant for that. We're fighting it, especially women who've brought up kids, especially on your own. I know what it's like. You've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on your kids and on everyone else and everything else apart from yourself, and saving money and investing money. You end up with nothing. The men end up with it all. And sorry, men, but you do. Look at all the men who've got, I see all my friends who separated from their husbands for any reason. The husband's got heaps and they've got nothing. Literally nothing, some of them. It is criminal, but that is still the system. It's run by men. It is misogynistic to the end. We bring up kids and spend all our money on everything related to family, whereas they somehow spend it on themselves. How does that happen? And not so much now with the younger generation. I'm seeing the younger generations, they're not actually like that anymore. Some of them are. Some of them are very much holding on to that. But others have become so different, and to the point of they're losing their own individuality. I have to watch and think, oh, don't go too far the other way. Women aren't everything. Women are just people too. Don't go the opposite way. There are a lot of very manipulative women out there. Just saying, I am a feminist and we all deserve to be equal in those ways, but we're not equal in terms of we're not the same. Men and women aren't the same. Who would want us to be? How ridiculous is that idea? We are very different in our bodies and our physiology and our psychiatry or whatever, psychology. Everything about us is different. we're wired differently, all sorts of things. That's biological. You can't argue with that and just pretend it is not there. And I find that ridiculous when people do it. Anyway, I'm raving again about another subject, but if you can see anything, any value, I hope that you will just think about it, follow up a little bit. I'd love to tell you more about the business. I've gone about the business and why to do it, or what, hoping that I can reach anyone who's in a situation where they're not happy and they're going downhill, that there's ways to change. And please reach out. Who knows? It might suit you. It might not. And I'll have to send you on your way. I'm sorry if that's the case, but there probably is something else out there for you. Just reach out and let's talk. And my time is up. So please do that. And I really, really enjoy talking to you. And I'll be here again next Thursday. If you see this, and just I might go over to my personal page, because this one is so limited. Facebook has made the business pages so damn limited as to I can't even contact you unless you contact me. So sorry if I haven't reached out to you. It's not my fault. Promise. See you next time.